This is the Omen, a classic slip-on shop boot loaded with...
The tariff battle rages on in the courts with President Trump's administration set to ask our highest court, the Supremes, for an expedited ruling on the levies. Just last hour, the president issuing a warning if the Supreme Court rules against his tariffs.
Our country has a chance to be unbelievably rich again, but it can also be unbelievably poor again. If we don't win that case, our country is going to suffer so greatly.
What's the backup plan, sir?
But I think we're going to have a big victory.
Larry Kudlow.
Yes, ma'am.
Take the floor. How do you see it?
I'm totally with the president on this. I think the Court of Appeals in Washington, D.C., I mean, it's a Biden-esque and Obama-esque court. Although, interestingly, there was some dissents that I think will carry weight with the Supreme Court. But look, the basic part here is he chose IEEPA as an emergency, urgent way to deal with the trade breakdown that we've had. And he wants to move forward on this. You know, it's funny, I don't really see the problem here. It's like, okay, he's made these deals all across the world. Businesses are adjusting. The stock market has generally been very, very strong. The economy looks fine. As a side thing, as a byproduct, he's making a couple of $100 billion off the tariffs. It would be ridiculous to refund that and send it back. I don't know how the heck you do it, by the way. It would be one of the biggest, messiest, chaotic money exchanges in history. He's not taking the jurisdiction. It's not. I know that specifically Congress is in charge, has jurisdiction over tax cuts. I get that, okay? But these are not even permanent tariffs. These are negotiated tariffs to rebalance trade. That's a key point. He has the right, according to the legislation of I believe it was 1973, then amended in 77, something like that. He has the right, however, to regulate imports, and he also has the right and obligation to stop the drug trafficking. And maybe most of all, my take is he conducts foreign policy. He is the commander-in-chief, okay? And all of these trade negotiations with Japan, Korea, China, the European Union, India, you name it, these have important foreign policy implications. This is as much a foreign policy act as it is a measure to rebalance trade and stop the unfair practices around the world against the U.S. So I don't see what the problem is. And I think the Supremes are going to say the same thing.
Are you arguing this in front of the Supreme Court? You could be quite good at that, Larry.
I've been honing my arguments. We had Jeff Garish on last night. He's a very smart fellow. But I talked to a lot of people about this, lawyers and non-lawyers alike. I'm sorry, it's the D.C. Court of Appeals, okay? We know a lot about the D.C. Court of Appeals. Trump has tangled with them before, and they lose. And they're going to lose again in the Supreme Court.
I don't want to open it up, but I want to raise this, though. The way the president talks about it, though, it doesn't sound like these are temporary levies. That he views it, and I'll tell you, like,
he said without them, the country is going to crumble and collapse.
As he loves the revenue. He has made that crystal.
Yeah, but you don't know. When I say temporary, the tariff rates will be temporary. We don't know, and he doesn't know. Look, he changes them, again, depending on foreign policy considerations. Okay?
Like India.
Thank you.
Best example.
That's exactly the best example. 100%, Jackie. Actually, I would even add Canada to that. When Canada endorsed what the Palestinian state, he jacked that up. That's why I keep making the point. This whole tariff diplomacy, as I call it, is as much foreign policy as it is economic policy, but both are very important here. So I'm just saying, to your point, it could be 15%, could be 25 or 30%. That's different. You know, the Congress would lower the marginal tax rate. That's their jurisdiction, and that's permanent. Okay, permanent until it gets changed years later. But this is a much different game that Mr. Trump is playing. It's not like tax policy.
It's harder to make the foreign policy argument with like a Switzerland, though, isn't it? Like, I get it with India. Like, India, actually, I get it.
Or Canada, or Israel.
I don't know. Canada, you could argue about that, but there are definitely some countries in there.
And how
where
about
it
Russia?
seems-
We got a big Russia thing coming.
Yeah.
I don't know whether we're going to talk about it later or not. He's going to take action against Russia. He has lost his patience, as he should, with Russia. Now, how far he goes, tariffs are going to be part of the Russian, shall I say, solution. And that's foreign policy. And that's why these courts should stay the heck out. It's not their jurisdiction.
Years ago, Larry, I have to ask you, you wrote an essay, an op-ed, I think, called Taxes Are Tariffs.
Yes.
Excuse me, Tariffs Are Taxes.
Yes.
In 2018. Is that still the case? In the revenue that you talked about that the president is enjoying, isn't that revenue coming from American citizens and companies?
Well, by the way, I probably shouldn't say this, but I would remind that for businesses, for corporations who are tariffed, that is a deduction.
Americans.
That is correct.
Right.
So the so-called pain and suffering from the tariffs is ameliorated substantially because it is, in fact, it's cost of doing business, and you can deduct that at blah, blah, blah. But look, yeah, tariffs are taxes, but again, I'm saying none of this is permanent. And my argument here, and I wrote, when I was in office, I wrote 2 op-ed pieces preceding G7 and G20 meetings with the president's sign-off. He is a free trader. I've said this to this group. I've said he's a free trader. What he's saying is, though, I don't mean you, Jonathan, personally, but foreign competitors have been unfair. They keep us out of their market with high tariffs and particularly non-tariff barriers, which is the real game. And he's saying the only way I can knock that down is if the United States takes actions. We will not let them just sell into our market. We're the only game in town. You're going to have to pay more. And that is look, almost all these deals, as far as I know, barriers are coming down from our competitors. In other words, his plan is already working. There's even some evidence that imports are slowing and exports are improving. It's early in the game, it's only 6 or 7 months. But yeah, I think he's a free trader. This is the way you have to do it. Reciprocity has always been a brilliant idea. I am a free trader, Jonathan, I still am. But I support this action because this is a pro-American, we fight back action.
Did you ever, I think about this in terms of what does the next guy do? Okay, so IEEPA, we're using it now in this reciprocity fashion, that's what we call it. The next administration, not Donald Trump, not J.D. Vance, a left-winger. So they're going to get in sometime, okay? And they say, you know, all these polluters around the world, these CO2 emitters, that's a national emergency. It's killing the climate, and we're going to throw tariffs on all of their stuff coming in.
Yep.
You know, like we can't import any energy from Saudi Arabia because they're polluters, or like you know. Israel, they're human rights abusers, and so we're going to put a huge tariff on Israel because they're. So I think IEEPA, if it's allowed to stand the way you're talking about, seems to me like the kind of tool that can be used by folks who I vehemently disagree with for policies that will wreck our country, and they'll say, well, my precedent is the Trump administration. Is there a way around that, Larry? That's what I'm asking.
Brian, you just have to have confidence in democracy.
In the left-wing president coming down the road? Because I don't.
No, in the democracy and the voters. You just have to have confidence that the voters
came through this time.
That is correct. Yeah. And, you know, we said this.
There was a time before that, though.
All during 2023 and 2024, when they were using lawfare and weaponization and trying to throw Trump in jail for 750 years and take his business away. And I said time and time again, whatever courts may say, whatever special counsels may say, whatever the Justice Department may say, the real jury here is the November election.
American people.
And the American people will vote. And Brian, you know, you and I wouldn't like that use of IEEPA. I agree with you about that, okay? But you kind of have to, in a democracy, you take your chances, you put your best foot forward, and, you know, shows like this, and you try to persuade people.
At top of the show, we were looking at looking at the markets, obviously you've got a Dow that's down. Last time I checked, the NASDAQ and the S&P were up, so it's mixed today. Markets are not falling out of bed on this uncertainty.
Right. I know. Yeah, exactly. Including the bond market. I was reading yesterday bond rates, and I looked. The worst the 10-year got was about 427, 428. It's fallen back down. That's the bond market. No, there's none of this. Let me just step back, though. You remind me of a point. Our friends at a certain very conservative editorial page, which is associated with this company, right at the beginning, have screamed at Donald Trump for any of these actions, okay? And they've argued, of course, the Smoot-Hawley argument, which was the worst thing ever in history. That was a 60% tariff, okay, which invited retaliation from all over the world and probably contributed enormously to the global depression. Okay, I buy that. But here's the thing. This time, there has been no retaliation. We had temporary retaliation from Canada, but they pulled back. We had temporary retaliation with China, but they pulled back. This time, it's deal making. Which is what the president said at the beginning. Deal making, okay? And that is so important. And the levels we're talking about the effective tariff, if we froze this in time right here now, is probably somewhere around 13 or 14%. It's not 60%. Now, is that higher than 2 to 3? Yes, absolutely. But then again, sometimes you use a carrot, sometimes you use a stick when you want to change the other team. But I'm just saying, this is not 1930s. We've had deals, not retaliation. There was never a global trade war. All these editorialists have been absolutely wrong. They won't admit it. They probably never will. I love all of them. They're dear friends of mine going back 40 to 50 years and the supply side revolution, and you may know who I'm talking about, but they've been wrong. I'm sorry. With all due respect and love, they've been wrong.
But I see people in this administration, including the Secretary of the Treasury, bragging over and over again about its $400 billion and climbing of how much money these tariffs are bringing in revenue. And when you sound like that, you're bragging and crowing about a tax. Whatever you're crowing about, crowing about revenue, and to think that the Democrats aren't paying attention to this new source of government revenue. So I'm not even talking about the court decision. They're paying attention because that's another way they can claw money away from businesses and individuals.
Well, that's why we should hurry up. And my view is I'd like to take those revenues, the bulk of them, and cut taxes. Just give it right back to the people.
Yeah, where's the money?
Right back to the people.
Where is that money?
Which money?
The money that they're bringing in through the tariffs. Like, I think if they could show the I know, but if they could.
Treasury Department.
I know, but they should show the American people.
The bureaucrats who run it.
Yeah.
I don't think they have an assistant secretary yet for that.
IPDN.
That's because Chuck Schumer won't let stuff go through. Francis Brooks is assistant secretary for trade. I don't know whether he would be. The money will sit in the Treasury's general account if you're asking a technical issue. But no, cut taxes. Trump said it again today. So he was asked a question, would this replace the income tax? And he said, well, we don't know, but something to look at. And America has a history of that sort of thing. I don't think it'll replace the income tax. What's the income tax? A couple $1 trillion.
Yes.
So we're not going to get there.
IPDN.
But, I'm not thrilled about building up, high tariffs to get revenues. Incidentally, the Laffer curve would kick in eventually. We won't buy anything. I don't want to go down that road.
Right.
But I don't think the president has. Dan Clifton does this all the time. Is such a smart fellow from Strategas Research, Washington Research. We're about 14% effective tariff rate. Geez, that's not bad, and that's temporary. If this negotiate, Besson's going to keep negotiating, Lutnick's going to keep negotiating, et cetera, et cetera. The president will keep negotiating. Here's where the foreign policy stuff comes in. Look, let's go to India. Let's go to India. India did not join the axis of evil cabal, frankly, even though they flirted with them, and they've been bad players.
Some flirting there.
There was some hand holding,
right,
which
but
I didn't
no
like.
kissing on the mouth.
That's right.
So
That's
it was
right.
okay.
You're exactly right. Well put.
Yes.
Well put.
We're okay here.
But I'm just saying that
IPDN.
tariffs will play a role with U.S.-India relations. It did in the first term. I sat in all those meetings, and it will right now. But Dagan's right. We did. It was a little heavy petting there for a moment, but nothing worse. No, I didn't see any penetration or anything like that.
On that,
Okay, we gotta go.
I love Larry Kudlow so much for saying that.
Farm in the wild, raise animals and harvest crops, make food for yourself and for sale. Build a flourishing city with factories and farms. Craft everything you need for travels.
PPIH.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to today's daily market recap. In today's episode, I'm going to break down my trades from the morning. I'm currently sitting in the green, and I traded 6 different stocks. I'm green on 4, I'm red on 2 of them, but my first trade of the day was a, well, bigger loss. It put me in the red, not near my max loss, but it did put me in the red. And in fact, that trade was my biggest trade of the day in terms of dollar amount. All of the winners that followed, none of them were bigger than that first loss. So I put myself in the red on the first trade, and I spent the rest of the morning digging myself out of the hole. Now, although I was able to recover, what was evident today was that my average losers were bigger than my average winners, which is why, in spite of having relatively good accuracy and being green on more stocks than I was red, I only came back above break even to being slightly green on the day. Okay, so that's not what I was hoping for today, but you know what? Small green days are good. They pay the bills, and it's going to continue to help me build that cushion for the month of September because we're still at the beginning of the new month. So yesterday was a green day. Today is a green day. Hopefully tomorrow and Friday can be green days, and I can start the month with 4 green days in a row. Even if it's not a ton of profit, it builds confidence, and it certainly builds at least a little bit of a cushion. So these are the 6 stocks I traded. My biggest winner is IPDN.
ARMP.
Now, what's interesting about IPDN is that this is actually a stock that was moving just a couple days ago. So the setup today was the first daily candle to make a new high. But boy, what a swing. You can see this move from down here all the way up to 12 and then all the way back down to 8. And look at that right there. What do we call that candle? That is a jackknife. So the stock popped up, which created the upper candle wick, and then immediately reversed into a halt down. That is the worst type of candle to be in as a long bias trader. Essentially what happens is you're looking at the setup and you're thinking, okay, you know, we've halted up once, we dipped and ripped up again, we pulled back, we popped up, we pulled back, we popped up, we dipped down, and you're thinking, all right, I'm going to take this trade here for the squeeze through the high. It makes sense. It's logical. And so you take that trade, that buy right there, you're looking for the squeeze through the high, it goes up to 1220 nice, and then suddenly...
Check this out. I'm going to show you how I afforded this car.
NCI.
Okay, you ready?
SOGP.
All right, $118 for car.
Whoosh, the bottom falls out, and it just flushes, in this case, from 1220 to 1020, a 2-point drop. It opens lower, it bounces up a little bit, back to about the halt level, and then, as you can see, it pushes even lower. So You know, and it's interesting because this false breakout right here, the MACD, I mean, it looks like at that moment,
ZNB.
so at that exact moment,
BRCC.
it went red.
NCI.
Just the moment before, it had dipped down here a little bit. So you could see the MACD was crossing, but it wasn't negative yet. And the volume was decent. There was definitely more volume on the buy side. So it's a little bit of a shame that this didn't work out better and it gave us that rejection. But nonetheless, so where did I trade this? So I actually took a couple of trades on IPDN. One was a dip trade down in this area right here. So I traded that candle as it popped back up. And the reason I was trading that was because I recognized that it was starting to pop up a little bit. It sort of squeezed up right here. It sort of dipped down. And I thought, all right, I'm going to catch that next trade higher. So I got my first trade right there. We got the double top at 9. So this was our previous high. This was our high.
UPC.
I wanted to see that level break so we could get up to this high here. And then I was looking at the high from the previous day, which was up here around 1084. Now we did end up breaking that level, but not till after the open. At the open, we got this squeeze into a halt right here. I bought the dip and sold into the rip right here to add a little more profit, but with smaller share size. And then I didn't take any more trades on it. So that was IPDN. But that was not the first stock I traded. The first stock I traded was actually STI, which right now is our third leading gainer on the day. This, at one point this morning, was up, it was the number one leading gainer. It was up
LWLG.
170% when I sat down. That's a nice move. So this popped up after hours. It then pulls back. Then it pops up pre-market, dips, pops up, dips, pops up. And by 6:30, 7 a.m., we were set up right here for another move higher. So here's how I traded this. Coming into 7 a.m., right here, you could see how we popped just before 7 a.m. to this new high. We hit a high of 883. So at 7 a.m., it dips down right here, and I bought this dip. It popped up for a second, but it didn't work, and I stopped out right there. Now, it was only a $3,500 loss, so it's not a massive loss, but as you can see, I didn't have any winners that were bigger than that. So, you know, that was my biggest trade of the day, and it was on the red side. My thinking with that trade was, this is our leading gainer. It's clearly moving. So I'm going to try to buy the dip for the retest of the high. I don't think it was a bad idea, but it just obviously didn't work out. And that was the only trade I took on it. I did not take any more trades. So that just goes sideways, so no interest. Although, well, I will say that I was considering it at the open if it could break this level here, but of course it wasn't able to do that. So that was STI. So then the next stock that I traded after that was SINT. Now, SINT, interestingly, pops up. So we first get this pop up right here.
CRMG.
It pops up, it drops
NCI.
down. I actually lost about $100 on my first trade. But then it comes back up, curls, I get back in, and we get this sweep all the way back up here from $5 up to over $7 a share. And on that one, recovered the loss from going red. Not that I was red by a lot, but I didn't take big share size. And here was the problem. It was extended, micro pullback. It was so extended, I felt like I could only trade it with small size. So I was kind of being a little bit conservative on it. Well, part of that was because I was red on the day. That was the right move. So I was conservative on that, got small gains on it. So after that trade, I went from being down 3,500 to being down like 2,400. All right, well, moving in the right direction. That's good. So then after that, I had the trade on IPDN, my first one. And so that got me down to maybe 500 on the day. Then after that, I had AIHS. When AIHS popped up on the scanner right here, I said, well, I don't know, guys. This is a Chinese stock. You know, Chinese stock, CN here. I don't know if we can really trust it.
MWG.
This is a sector that's been difficult. Yes, in the past, we've had big moves, but as of late, it's been more pop and drop stuff where they pop up and then they fade. So I really didn't think it was going to work. It obviously, it did grind higher. But when I took my first trade on it, so I jumped in it a little on the extended side. It kept grinding higher, pulls back, and I got in at 385, right around 385 for the break of 4. So it ends up breaking over 4 here, going up to 420, and then it dips down. Then again, another jackknife candle right there. And then it sells off pretty hard. So anyways, AIHS made about $1,700 on it. nothing crazy, but green is good. BAOS, this is another stock that popped up. On this one, I got a very small trade on it. Was looking for the break through the double top right there. Ended up losing $29.
CRD.
I can handle that. That's a small loss, no big deal. So double top, wanted to see a break, and it failed. The MACD was positive here. The volume was okay. I didn't see a really good reason why this failed. It was another Chinese stock, but AIHS had just made a big move. So that made me think, well, maybe this will work.
So I said to him, no, Nigel, not without the brie.
ASAN. ZNB.
Right? Maybe the momentum is on Chinese names today. So then following that, I had a trade on LCFY. It's a foreign company.
CRD.
It's not Chinese.
MWG.
Ends up popping up here and then selling off, and I jumped in and out of it for $1,200 of profit. A very quick trade. So basically what happened on this one was it just, it just basically went straight up. And so the way I traded this was I bought for the break of 7
ZNB.
and just scalped
ASAN.
that whole dollar breakout, getting in at 7, getting out at like 7.35 or 7.45.
GGLL.
So a very quick trade on that one. And then the last trade of the day was on IPDN, right? That was that last trade after the open, and it's going down even more. So, and then I saw ABTC was halted. I'm just, looks like it's an uplist, American Bitcoin. These are all just very hard to trust right now. So right now for me, it's time to just be a bit more conservative, to get in, get green, book the profit, and know that when the market picks back up, I have no problem scaling up. But if I scale up right now, I'm really afraid I'm going to get smoked, put myself in the red. I did that the first week of August. I don't want to do that here in September. I just want to build a cushion, be more conservative. And so even though I'm not making as much as I might like, the fact is, I feel like to a certain extent, I'm not in control of how much I make. How much I make is a product of the market that we're in. If we're in a hot market, I'll make a lot. If we're in a colder market, I will either lose a lot or I can go break even or maybe even make a little if I'm on the defense. And right now, I'm sitting on the defense. I'm being a little bit more conservative, but it's paying off. The account is still growing. So as always, for those of you guys that haven't already checked out a 2-week trial here at Warrior Trading, you probably know our Labor Day sale has ended. And if you didn't join, it's okay, I get it. Maybe now is not the right time. Maybe it's too expensive or whatever the case is. But it doesn't have to stop you from doing a 2-week trial. It's 2 weeks for $20, and during that time, you're going to gain a lot of knowledge. You're going to learn a lot about my strategy, the way I trade, and you can have all of that. You can keep it. And you can watch these episodes here on YouTube, and I really think you're going to learn a lot. So check out that trial. I hope to see you in it, and I'll be streaming bright and early tomorrow morning. Reminder, as always, trading is risky. My results aren't typical, so please manage your risk, take it slow, and practice in a simulator before putting real money on the line. I'll see you bright and early tomorrow morning.
BAOS. NCI. AEO. ZNB. MWG. BAOS.
To the Floor Show and Jay Jacobs, who runs BlackRock's thematic and active ETFs. Jay, just when you thought investors were peeling their fingers off the tech trade, suddenly the tech's grip, its relentless grip, takes a new hold with the Apple and Google news. And here we go. We've got technology as the lead when it comes to sectors. So what does this tell you about the trade?
Well, I think the good news here is a lot of the performance from tech companies this year is being driven by earnings. This is not speculation. This is not valuation expansion. This is companies delivering results because they are selling more product and services. This is what we've always wanted with AI. We have wanted this to be a revolutionary product that is adopted broadly. We're starting to see that really come through in the earnings of these companies, justifying the valuations that were excited for AI, but now being proven out.
And, you know, you guys have a whole bunch of AI-focused ETFs, but not to mention you also have a bunch of iShares ETFs that hold a lot of Google and Alphabet, obviously, and a lot of Apple, too. But how do you make sure that investors understand they shouldn't be doubling up on some of these?
Well, it's really about looking under the hood. Now, one of the developments that's happened in the markets this year is a lot more focus on concentration. You know, we've talked about the Mag 7, the top 20 stocks in the S&P 500. Right. A lot of weight is tilted towards those mega cap tech names.
MWG.
And what we're seeing more sophisticated investors do is really try to play with concentration, either do concentrate more in the top names using a fund like Top T, which is investing just in the top 20 names in the US S&P 500, or looking beyond the top 20 names and trying to balance it out with kind of the mid-cap stocks in the S&P. So looking at concentration as a function of the markets has become a really important trade for investors looking at diversification and growth.
Well, for a minute there, people said, okay, the rotation is real. Look at the Russell. The Russell was the best of the major indices during the month of August, up 7%. We could show a one-month chart there. But then on top of it, now suddenly you see the Russell down. Granted, it is one day, but the NASDAQ is up. So give me a sense of where you see the rotation trade, not necessarily entirely out of tech, but broadening out.
We don't see a rotation happening yet. What we see is more granular picking of more attractive areas of the market. We're seeing it in tech, where people are looking within that sector for AI names. We've seen hundreds of millions of dollars come into RD and BAI, our two AI ETFs. But on the value end of the spectrum, we've seen several $1 billion come into infrastructure ETFs this year, where people aren't just blanket buying value stocks. They're saying, I want real assets. I want things that are in the ground, that are moving cars, electricity, water, et cetera, around the country, and really focusing on infrastructure stocks
Didn't infrastructure used to be a defensive play, and now you see it as a growth opportunity? What else is in there? I mean, when you talk about, say, for example, compelling income components here, those guys have a lot of dividend-paying opportunities.
Infrastructure is one of these just incredible asset classes right now where you absolutely can see the defensiveness of it because these are lower volatility stocks, but it has tremendous growth tailwinds because you're seeing so much effort to build out manufacturing in the United States. And if you're going to build more chips, if you're going to produce more energy, if you're going to build more kind of heavy industrials in the U.S., you need the roads and highways and airports to support that. And so there's a lot of effort to rebuild infrastructure in the United States to support manufacturing efforts.
Okay, and that would be BILT, B-I-L-T. It doesn't have that much in assets under management. Really quick on gold. Gold is hitting a record. There are a bunch of gold ETFs, not just yours, but obviously Van Eck has the junior gold miners, there's the GLD, and you guys certainly have an opportunity here. Is it too expensive at the moment?
RKLB.
Many of these are hitting all-time highs.
No, I don't think so. We see a lot of investors looking for diversification and differentiation in their portfolios. So we've seen, close to $10 billion come into IAU. We've also seen tens of billions of dollars come into Bitcoin with IBIT this year. And it's coming a lot from the same place, which is people are looking for assets beyond stocks and bonds to diversify their portfolio.
Jake, great to see you.
Good to see you.
Just a friendly reminder to anyone who wants to improve brain health. Many people, as they get older, may notice changes in memory and thinking abilities. At first, these changes may be so subtle that they're easy to explain away as normal aging, and they may...
TLYS.
ORCL.
MWG. STI. CRMG.
PYXS.
PYXS. TLYS.
Senior White House correspondent Peter Doocy reporting live from the North Lawn. Hi, Peter.
Martha, good afternoon. If big cities in this country have an epidemic of violence, President Trump thinks the cure can be found here in Washington, D.C.
Friends of mine that haven't gone to a restaurant in 4 years, one of them went out 5 times in the last 2 weeks to a restaurant with his family. They feel totally safe. Washington, D.C. is a totally safe city. You're not reporting any crime because there is none. They said crime is down 87%, and I said, no, it's not. It's down 100%.
Get this, the Democratic D.C. Mayor Bowser is quietly taking steps to keep federal help on the streets of D.C. She signed an order yesterday keeping what's called the Safe and Beautiful Emergency Operations Center open. Caroline Levitt says about that, The Trump administration is grateful to continue partnering with Mayor Bowser to make DC the safest city in the country. The mayor's fellow Democrats should take note. Working with President Trump means safer communities and less crime. No one in their right mind could seriously oppose that. J.B. Pritzker does oppose the National Guard in Illinois, even though he admits he's used the National Guard to secure Chicago city streets as recently as last year.
This city has hosted major political conventions, flashpoint events like the NATO conference, and huge sports and entertainment gatherings. Some, like the Democratic National Convention last year, even required a limited deployment of the Illinois National Guard for broad security purposes.
But President Trump is still leaving open the possibility of deploying the National Guard to Illinois first and then worrying about legal challenges later. Martha.
Okay, Peter, thank you very much.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.
BRIA. NCI.
AEO.
When you've got smoke-free satisfaction, you've got the freedom to do things your way.
BRIA.
All right, welcome back in here to Live Now from Fox. I am Andy Mack. A crowded field for New York City mayor might have taken a new shape today as Zohran Mamdani coming out with the emergency press conference after reports that incumbent mayor Eric Adams might be eyeing a position within the Trump administration. You can see this from Mamdani saying at the press conference, Cuomo is Trump's choice for mayor. The White House is considering jobs for Adams and Sliwa to clear the field. New Yorkers are sick of corrupt politics and backroom deals. No matter who's running, will deliver a better future for on November the 4th. Let's take you right now out to this live event in New York City. Zohran Mamdani, the leader in all of the polls, holding this emergency press conference.
How else to describe the president speaking with the mayor and the former governor about how to make this race the one that they deem the most difficult for me? I don't care about who we will face in November. We'll beat them all. It's the question of how we can actually stand up for this city and the fact that I'm here talking about other Democrats. I mean, what do these people actually stand for besides power? That's the question that I have for them.
Yeah, Josie. What's your message here to Mayor Adams? Do you think he should stay in the race, or do you think he should...
XHG.
I don't think anyone seeking to represent the people of this city should be taking a job with the administration that is making it harder for the people of the city to afford the place that they call home. You know, I've made it clear, as Jeff pointed out, close to a year ago, my thoughts as to Eric Adams in this race and the charges that he was facing and what he owed it to New Yorkers. Clearly, that didn't mean much to him then. My issue is the work that is taking place right now in these kinds of conversations, in these kinds of meetings, to subvert the will of Democrats across the city, all in the interest of Donald Trump.
All right, we got Jeff right here.
XHG.
Yes.
Is there any sort of ethical
NCI.
here? Do you see this as a sort of quid pro quo situation in terms of a potential job offer for the
I think there are many ethical issues with this news. We are talking about a mayor who was facing an indictment that was then dropped by this administration to ensure greater collaboration with the immigration directives of this administration.
XHG.
Now being considered for a job offer such that he would drop out of a race to represent this city because of the fact that they believe that would increase the odds of anyone being able to defeat me. Those are incredible ethical issues. And none of this has to do with New Yorkers. None of it has to do with the welfare of this city. It all has to do with power. It all has to do with the audacity that we have here to believe that we could pick our own mayor. that we have to believe that the most pressing issues are not how to ensure that Donald Trump continues to have an ambassador in City Hall, but that New Yorkers can actually afford the place that they call home.
Mayor Adams said that Mayor Adams has said he hasn't spoken to Trump, and he denies that he would drop out of the race. Do you believe him, and do you think New Yorkers should believe him?
It is hard to believe Mayor Adams' ever-changing story. We were first told that this trip to Florida was entirely personal. Then it was revealed that it included many meetings of a political nature. To try and keep up with him, it's a fool's errand. And what we've seen in this reporting, in the same context of reporting that showed Andrew Cuomo and Donald Trump having that conversation, is the fact that our so-called leaders of this city and this state care little for the people they are supposed to serve and care more instead about themselves and whether or not they can continue to hold on to power.
XHG.
Ryan, Fox News, and then New York One.
So you called an emergency press conference today because of the president. You say meddling in this election, but what do you have to say to the fact that there are New Yorkers from all ideologies and every other candidate in this race who says your candidacy is the emergency and the existential threat?
To characterize a campaign that will freeze the rent for 2 million rent-stabilized tenants,
ELYS.
make the slowest buses in the country fast and free, and deliver universal child care as an existential threat to this city, begs the question of what you think this city is and who you think it's supposed to serve. This is a city that is supposed to be a living, breathing testament to the possibility of working people and their dreams. And yet the idea that we could actually fight for those same working people is such a threat to the way that politics has been, because we see so often who it's supposed to serve, those that already have power. And what we need to do is to ensure that we finally show the relevance of politics in the struggles of working people's lives, not continue to pretend that any of this kind of news is normal.
The president is a New Yorker. Why does it matter if he cares about this city and wants to pick the candidate or endorse a candidate of his choosing?
It's not a question about the president's endorsement. If this was only about the question of who Donald Trump would put his face on their palm card for, I wouldn't be having a press conference with you calling it an emergency. What this is about is Donald Trump seeking to narrow this race with the pure intent of trying to stop our candidacy and the willingness of Democrats to not only consider this, but to actively engage and pursue this as their political strategy.
And see.
All right, we'll go right here, Brian. On a broader level, though, what do you say to people that are concerned that, you're 33 years old, you've only had a short tenure in Albany, that you say that your platform is separate from the DSA at a national and local level, but you've been a dues-paying member. So what do you say to those people that might support this going to the highest level where Donald Trump...
All right, you're just listening in there. Zohran Mamdani holding this emergency press conference after reports that Eric Adams, the incumbent mayor of New York City, might be seeking a role within the Trump administration that would certainly reshape, realter how this race in November is looking.
He was fired just 3 weeks before he was set to retire.
And now he's becoming an industry whistleblower. Kate Jennings has the story.
XHG.
This man was fired after 30 years of loyalty. Now he's exposing a $500 billion industry.
BRIA.
CRML.
XHG. BRIA. XHG.
XHG.
XHG. NCI. BRIA. UPC. BRIA.
CRML. AEO.
BRIA.
CRML. RNXT.
BRIA.
CRML.
A Japanese knife for 20 bucks? Holy shit, this deal is insane. But they literally have too many knives and need them.
Ladies and gentlemen, President Trump just went absolutely scorched earth on China, the CCP, and Chinese President Xi Jinping just got caught in a very curious hot mic moment. So folks, make sure to stick around for today's entire video because honestly, we have some very interesting topics to talk about today. Now, yesterday afternoon, the Chinese Communist Party held an absolutely massive military parade in order to celebrate the 80-year anniversary of their victory over Japan in World War II. However, as all of you know, it was really the United States who defeated Japan in World War II. That being said, China has decided to take credit for it. Take a look.
China held its largest ever military parade in Beijing on Wednesday, marking 80 years since Japan's defeat at the end of World War II. Chinese President Xi Jinping was flanked by Russia's Vladimir Putin and North Korea's Kim Jong-un. Designed to project China's military might and diplomatic clout, the event was largely shunned by Western leaders due to Putin and Kim's attendance, with the pair considered pariahs in the West due to the Ukraine war and Kim's nuclear ambitions. At the top of the program, Xi addressed a crowd of more than 50,000 spectators at Tiananmen Square in the capital.
The Chinese nation is a great nation that does not fear violence, and that stands independent and strong.
Xi then inspected the troops and cutting-edge military equipment, including hypersonic missiles, underwater drones, and a weaponized robot wolf. Helicopters trailing large banners and fighter jets flew in formation during a 70-minute showcase that culminated in the release of 80,000 peace birds. Seated between Putin and Kim in the viewing gallery, Xi repeatedly engaged in conversations with both leaders during the parade. It marked the first time the trio have appeared together in public.
Now, folks, as I said earlier, there is a lot to talk about here, so what do you say we just get right into it? As that report said, yesterday afternoon, we saw the single largest military parade that China has ever conducted, and of course, Russia's Putin and North Korea's Kim both showed up to celebrate. Interestingly, despite invitations being sent out, not one single political leader from the Western world decided to attend the event, which really showcases the degree to which President Trump has been able to isolate China on the world's stage. And now, while we're talking about President Trump, I want you all to take a look at what President Trump had to say about China's big event yesterday afternoon as it was unfolding. And like I said, he pretty much went scorched earth. Take a look. The big question to be answered is whether or not President Xi of China will mention the massive amount of support and blood that the United States of America gave to China in order to help secure its freedom from a very unfriendly foreign invader. Many Americans died in China's quest for victory and glory. I hope that they are rightfully honored and remembered for their bravery and sacrifice. May President Xi and the wonderful people of China have a great and lasting day of celebration. Please give my warmest regards to Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un as you conspire against the United States of America. And so, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Like I said, scorched earth. In front of the entire world, President Trump just accused China, Russia, and North Korea of conspiring against the United States. And I mean, is he wrong? For months now, President Trump has been trying to work out a peace deal between Russia and Ukraine, whereas China has been directly financing Russia's war effort, and North Korea has actually been sending soldiers to the front line. And then, of course, there's all of the other stuff that China has been doing as well. Between all of their predatory economic behavior and their explicitly anti-American geopolitical maneuvers, I think it's fair to say that China is pretty much the United States' #1 adversary. And if you don't believe me, just think about this real quick. Why is President Trump trying to retake the Panama Canal? Because of China. Why does Trump want Greenland? Because of China. Where is all of the fentanyl originally coming from? China. Who's been stealing all of our intellectual property and spying on American universities and American military bases? China. Who's been ripping off the American economy for decades now? China. So you get my point. China is very clearly an adversarial nation to say the least, and President Trump is fully aware. And now, I have to say real quick, it's just so nice to have a leader back in the White House that not only looks out for American interests, but also broadcasts the message of America first out across the entire world. And as a perfect example of that, Trump just put China back in check and reminded them that if America hadn't saved them during World War II, they'd pretty much be controlled by Japan right now. So they can go ahead and have their military parade in which they show off all of the equipment that they had to steal from the United States, but hey, let's not forget who's the top dog here. And you know what? Let's just go ahead and be brutally honest here for a moment. Xi Jinping's military parade is really nothing more than a propaganda stunt meant to distract from the fact that right this very moment, China's economy is in absolute tatters because of President Trump's trade tariffs. Because keep in mind, for months now, President Trump has maintained a flat 30% tariff on every single product coming out of China. And the reason why is because China has been working to subvert and undermine the United States of America for decades now. And so that is why President Trump has decided to finally make them pay for all of the damage they've caused. But now, folks, this is where today's video gets a little bit strange. You see, during China's celebration yesterday afternoon, Xi Jinping and Putin actually had a very curious hot mic moment in which they got caught discussing something that they both probably wish hadn't been broadcast to the public. But before we take a look at that, I do want to say real quick that if you guys enjoy the daily news updates, please consider subscribing to the channel because it really does help a ton. But okay, check this out. I kid you not, but during this hot mic moment, Xi Jinping actually got caught talking to Putin about their plans to effectively try to live forever. And if you don't believe me, here's a full translated discussion. Xi, these days 70 years old and you're still a child. Putin, biotechnology is continuously developing. human organs can be continuously transplanted. The longer you live, the younger you become because you can even achieve immortality. Some predict that in this very century, humans may live to be 150 years old.
ESNYW.
And so, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Not only is China doing everything it can to try to destroy the United States of America very clearly, but now, like I said, they're pretty much also trying to live forever. And how are they going to do that? By continuously transplanting brand new human organs. So like I said, just very strange, bizarre stuff coming out of China right now, to say the least. But you know what? What do you say we refocus back on the geopolitics of all of this for a moment? Because that is what President Trump was really talking about with his Truth Social post that we looked at a little bit earlier. During Xi Jinping's speech at this military parade, he very clearly said that China is a nation that's not afraid of using violence and that they will be unstoppable in the pursuit of their goals. And so right now, what is
if there's one AI site builder you need to meet, this is Dope Tech from Wix.
Taiwan, which is, of course, very problematic because President Trump isn't going to tolerate Chinese expansionism as they look to project themselves out across the Pacific Ocean, closer and closer to America's borders. Which is, by the way, exactly what we've already seen them try to do in Canada, in Greenland, in the Panama Canal, and even here in our own country, because keep in mind, China has been industrially buying up American farmland. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I've got to say, I'm with President Trump on this one. Very clearly, the Chinese threat is real and it needs to be taken seriously, which is exactly what President Trump is doing right now. And you know what? Thank God for that, because that is exactly what needs to happen if we really want to put America first.
NCI.
Let's look over in the Pacific because we have a couple of hurricanes going right now, Lorena and Kiko. Let's look at Lorena first. It's just a beam there of Cabo San Lucas. The winds in Cabo are not bad. I checked them out, but they have had continuous kind of thunderstorms there. But it looks like the storm is out here and is moving to the north, 80-mile-an-hour hurricane at this point. But look at this. When we look at the water temperatures, it's over relatively warm water now, but it's going to run into cool water pretty soon. So the idea is that as it moves to the north, might peak out about 90 miles an hour, but then as it comes ashore, 60, 40, so forth. So not a hard hurricane hit, doesn't look like. This is not a very populated part of Baja California or Baja California to the north, Baja California Sur to the south. Not super populated, but there are some towns up in there. And this might, as the biggest result here, just take a lot of moisture up into the southwest. Okay, mentioning Kiko here, it's a 110-mile-an-hour storm right now. It's moving in the direction of Hawaii, but it's going to run over cool water, so it's not going to get there as a hurricane. But it could be a decent storm, big moisture surge effects, especially on the Big Island, so something to watch. But that will be, again, well into next week. So lots going on. It's coming up on the peak of hurricane season, I guess there's kind of supposed to be. Ian?
Yeah, a lot of interesting things to watch as you were showing us, but we got time to watch them. That is most certainly the case with these. So we'll be chatting with you. That's Fox Weather Hurricane Specialist Brian Norcross. Thank you.
This is the Omen, a classic slip-on shop boot loaded with modern comfort and performance features. So let me walk you through it. We'll start on the outside and work our way in. As you'll see here, we got that grippy rubber outsole This thing is EH rated, slip and oil resistant, non-marking, and it's high heat resistant up to 572 degrees. As you work your way up, you'll see Brunt's Farm Guard leather. That's
Hey, how you doing? What's up, good people? Welcome back to Stock Up with Larry Jones. We are here for you guys, all right? So for those, first of all, good people, go ahead and hit that like, subscribe, and notification bell. We were lagging yesterday. It's a small price to pay. All right, I want to get this in the way right quick before I do a stock and crypto rundown, okay? If you're new, make sure you hit that like, subscribe, and notification bell. Listen. I'm coming to Virginia, okay? I'm coming to Virginia. It's the Iron Sharpens Iron Conference. Look at that, $1 Million Cup of Coffee. That's Friday, September 19th, the 6th through the 18th in Virginia, okay? This is a conference that everyone is welcome to. Look at that, Iron Sharper and Iron, leading the family well. See here, leading the family well, how to build a culture of faith and general wealth. It will be at a church, and myself and Mr. David Robinson, okay, David Robinson, the Admiral, will be in the building. You guys know him. You know, the dude with the box cut that slam dunked on Michael Jordan. So we're going to be hitting the stage together. I'm going to speak one day. We're going to speak together another day, and then there's going to be more guests to come. So stay tuned. All right. There will be a link in the description below. Let's get right into it. This was going to be short to the point. Stock market today, Dow slides, but Apple jumps. Warren Buffett's stock reverses higher despite its disappointment, rather. Okay. So this is what's happening right now at the moment. But right now, anything could turn. Anything. Alphabet stocks pop 9% after Google avoids breakup. And look at this, in that case, okay, antitrust case. We know all about that. It's been dragging out, and so it avoids the breakup. That was good for Google. So Google and Apple are actually doing well based on that news. Let's blow this up. We could see that Apple is green and Google is green. Google's up 8%. It was up higher, but as you can see, we're starting to cool down. I'm shooting this an hour before the market closes, all right? Because I just want to get this up because I got to get to the airport yet again. I'm traveling. I've been everywhere. All right, look, the Dow is down. The Dow is down by 238 points. At the time of filming this, the Dow has been down a negative all day and trending downward, okay? What else is happening? We have the S&P and the NASDAQ are actually up, but they slid from their highs as the market is confused on everything that's going on. We're going to talk about that in a minute. It ran up, and now it's a slow roller coaster down. For those of you that's playing the SPY and the Qs, Hopefully you did calls and then reverse and did puts, right? Let's keep it going. August job reports due as Fed uncertainty looms, right? So what is going on? Why focus on the jobs now? What happened to everything else? The economy, tariffs, all of this stuff that's affecting the economy. Well, it was the Fed. It was the Fed that said that he's going to focus on the jobs. We know that there's a Fed, another Fed that they're trying to get out of there because of fraud, mortgage fraud. And you guys know all of this stuff is political. Just keep it real. We keep it real here. All of this stuff is political. So you can find dirt on every single one of them. Every one of them you can find dirt on. You can find dirt on every single Dem and every single Republican and the president and every president that ever lived. You can find dirt on them. Let's just keep it real. So this is a political move, and it is leading to getting lower interest rates. Okay, so leave your politics where they are. I'm just stating the facts. Okay, let's just focus on what's going on. The markets are confused is what's going on. So now, here's one of the points I'm making this video for. So Gemini IPO targets 317 million as Trump bets on 1 billion crypto.com treasury strategy. Okay, so everybody is trying to be a baby MicroStrategy in one way or another. Now, I have a warning for you guys. Warning. Now, I want you to tell me what does Gemini IPO has in common, okay? And what does Figma have in common? Figma IPO, look at this. Figma Tech targets 4.3 billion valuation in September IPO, fueling crypto's public frenzy. Okay, fueling crypto's public frenzy. And then you have a lot of people chasing Bitmine, ticker symbol BMNR, and Strategy. These two are up to date. And some of you have Bitmine, Strategy. You're going to pick up Figma, and then you're going to run and pick up some Gemini, right? And what I'm going to tell you is you're going to be overweight crypto. Some of you added some hood to that, right? You got some hood and you got coin. I saw someone's portfolio the other day. I said, hey, are you diversified? Yep, I'm diversified. Let me see what you got. Every single thing was around Bitcoin and crypto. Every single stock. They even had iBit. They showed me their crypto portfolio, and all of the stock were crypto stock. And then they had a ton of the miners, which he was way underwater. Mara, Riot, CleanSpark. Every single stock was crypto. And he said, what do you think? And a friend of mine, of course, I said, I think you crazy because you're overweight crypto. Just like sometimes when the NASDAQ go down and you're wondering why is your entire portfolio tanking, you just might be overweight tech, okay? So let's just go right into some crypto. Now look at this, good people. Remember when I said that it's dangerous to chase new cryptos at this stage of the game, though there'll be some that would be winners. Look at that. These are the ones that's trending. Purple Peppy. Look at that. Or Purple Pep. I call it Purple Pepe. Purple Pepe is what it is. Now look at that. It's up 15%. Now they got Little Pepe, right? 434. And remember, for those of you that remember in 2021, I said, don't chase the off brands of, because these pop before you can get them. And then you chase them and then they fall at this stage of the game. I'm not saying that these will, but I'm saying you probably already need to be in your positions. Solana's up. So Solana is up. We got Solana, but you can see all of these new names. Some of them have already started to fall. So
we ran a promotion cutting the price of Mint Unlimited in half. And it was so popular, we're doing it again. It's like a sequel that's actually as good as the original. maybe better. Definitely not worse.
ETFs.
Okay, it's exactly the same.
There was a tree down in the woods, the prettiest tree that you ever did see. Now the tree has roots that need water to grow.